Okay, so with Python, it's an object-oriented programming language. Why Python? Python is very basic, very simple. You will see if you have taken any other programming language, or if you have saw the syntax of any other programming language, you will see how simple Python is. For example, if you want to print anything like simple hello world, you with Python, you will just write print and do this task. With Java, C++, in C++, you will be writing the header, the main method, and then you will write cout and whatever you want to print. With Java, you will be creating a class, you will be writing the main method, and then you will write system.out.println, then hello world. Like that with Java, it's too much to remember what you want to print. Like even to print hello world, you have to go through that many steps. With Python, it's very simple and basic. Whenever you are working with a programming language, mostly you are new to programming language. So how programs work, how would you define a program? Like if someone asks you, define a program, how you will say, what is a program? Like you are learning a programming language. What is a program? Like in your own word, just throw something,
Instructions.
instructions, correct? That's the perfect
I would
answer.
say a series of computations.
Series of computations, correct? More. Uh, a program is piece of instruction which you are giving to a computer. Just simple, like there are two things about computers, softwares and hardwares, right? Computer revolve around two things, softwares and hardware. The easiest way to remember what software is, what hardware is, or to differentiate these two things, like what I don't know, I'm looking at this mouse. Is this a software or hardware? Anything you can touch and feel is a hardware. I can touch my keyboard is a hardware. I can touch my monitor is a hardware. I can touch my webcam. I can touch my mouse. I can touch RAM. I can touch motherboard, CPU. Anything you can touch is a hardware. And what is a software now? Anything you cannot touch and feel is a software. Can you touch the operating system? Can you touch Java programs? You can only see it, right? You cannot touch those things. So anything you touch is or feel is a hardware, and anything you cannot touch is a software. Now there are, like in computer science, it's full of different fields of computer science. Like we have network engineer, cybersecurity folks, software developer, game developer, app developer, web developer. Like they have different tasks. Everyone is doing their own part. So with programs, it comes in the software category. Like you are learning a programming language, you are writing a software, you will be writing a program that will run some instructions. So to run those machines, to run this hardware part of these computers, you need softwares to run those things. Even your computer, if that is running, it's running on an operating system. Operating system is a software. And so with operating systems, they are like Windows, Mac, Unix, Ubuntu. These are all operating systems. So most of you who are using Apple computers, they have Mac operating system, which is a short form of Macintosh operating system. So we call it Mac. And then we have Windows operating system. We have Linux, Unix. Students who are going for the IT field, they will see a lot of Linux and Unix softwares because they will be creating virtual machines. They will be running those different operating system on the same system using virtual machines just to test some of the other products or other softwares. So now program is a piece of instructions, and how that piece of instruction works. Here we have an input part, processing part, and output part. First of all, how the programming language works. So how many types of programming languages are there?
Types.
There's like
Types.
dozens, probably
So
over
those are
50.
names. Those are names, types.
The
No one? There are two types, high level language and low level language. High level languages are human understandable language. Low level languages are computer understandable language. So as we are human, we are interacting with computer. Computer don't know what we are talking about. Even if you are writing in English or any mathematical wording like 2 plus 2, even because that's not English, right? 2 plus 2, that's maths language. Computer even don't understand what 2 plus 2 is. So it's your job. You are telling in your language, there is computer who's telling another language. In the middle, you have an interpreter, or a compiler? Any guess what interpreter and compiler does?
It takes the language that we write the code and it
Uh-huh.
turns it into machine code. So the machine.
Correct, correct. Low level language is also known as machine language. Machine, you can understand like in this way, low level, machine level, computer understandable language. Machine understand machine language. And what machine language is or low level language is zeros and one. It's known as binary. Binary means two, 0, and 1. Computer only understand the language of zeros and one. That's it. And wherever you are writing the code, whether you are writing in Python, Java, C, C++, computer don't understand what's going on. Every language, every programming language has a compiler or an interpreter, depending on what language you are using so far. Okay, so and what compiler and interpreter does, both do the same task, but the difference is interpreter interprets the line, just like our English word interpreter. We have interpreter for to communicate with even different human beings with different language background as well. They translate one language to another language. And what compiler does, you write the whole code, compiler runs the whole thing at once and show you the output at the end that these are the errors, go and fix it. What interpreter does, it translate line by line. So maybe I have a 50 lines of code, right? I have a 50 lines of code, 50 lines. Now, there is an error on line number 2. If I'm using interpreter, reading line 1, check, reading line 2, error, stop. And then it will stop your code at line 2. It will not look at rest of the lines you have and say fix that error first, and then I will move forward. What compiler does, it just read everything, keep track of all the errors, line 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom, at the end, here's your line 1 error, line 5 error, line 6 error, line 10 error. So that's the difference between interpreter and compiler. Every language have interpreter or a compiler, one of them, okay? They will have one of them depending on what language you are using. Like Java, Java use compiler. High level languages are human understandable languages. Java, Python, C, C++, all these are high level languages. So as Michael mentioned, there are tons of language. Tons of languages are all high level language. Starting with a little history, we had BASIC, BASIC, beginner all purpose symbolic instruction code. That was uh, that was our first language, like very basic for beginners. As you can see by the title, it was for beginner coding. Then we had Fortran, formula translation, used for scientific purposes. We had COBOL, common business oriented language. It was used for business purposes. So as we have evolved around these languages, so now we have Python. Recently, when I was doing my master's in computer science, Java was the new one. It was so popular and all the institutes were adopting Java. That was the requirement that everyone must learn Java. Java is the reason you have your apps on your phone. As you can relate it, like it wasn't like 10 years ago, it wasn't that possible having mobile apps or smartphones like that common, right? We had flip phones or those kind of stuff. Java is the reason like we have like all these apps. Now Python is evolving. Python, can you give an example where Python is used right now more popular in popularity? Any examples you have heard that Python is used in that place? That's the growing field.
Machine learning.
Ah, there you go. Machine learning, artificial intelligence. You have Alexa, we have Google Home. These are all because of Python. You have VR, virtual reality thing. All these things are becoming more common. We have dbots like cleaning, or all these automatic stuff going on is because of Python. So if and machine learning is like the most growing field right now. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, even they are working a lot. They're working a lot in the medicine field as well. So how many types of errors do we have in programming language?
Just one.
What? What?
Human errors.
Human errors, that's it? That's correct. By the way, that's correct. That's the term he used, human errors, is correct. But how how your softwares or IDE is differentiating your errors? So we have two types of errors. No, three types. We have three types of error. One will be the syntax error. The other one, logical errors. And the third one is the runtime error. Anyone, what syntax error is?
Syntax error would be like if you missed a parenthesis or something like that.
True. If you are going against a programming language rule, like syntax, anyone who's not familiar with the term, if I'm saying any terms, because I know you're all taking, this is your first class, most of you's coming from, maybe directly coming from any Microsoft Word class or basic computer science class, and have no idea how these terms are used. So do let me know and ask, because this is a programming class and I will answer your question, okay? Syntax are some instructions, just like in the start of this lecture, I mentioned Java has to print in Java, you have to write system.out.println. That's the syntax of Java. Like some, every programming language owners, I would say, they have defined some rules of programming language, that my statement will end with a semicolon. So all Java statements end with a semicolon. In Python, there is no semicolon. Python say, I'm okay with if you don't put any semicolon. So don't put any semicolon, because when I was working with Java, I realized that that's a hectic part to memorize the semicolons at the end of each statement. Just take it out. So Python was so simple that they also took all the semicolons out. No curly braces, nothing, like making the syntax more easy. That's why we call Python as a simple language, because it's very simple. You don't have to remember those teeny tiny things about the programming language. So the syntax error are if you miss a semicolon, if you miss a parenthesis, and Java and Python both are case sensitive. Even C++ is case sensitive. So if you put, if in Java, if there is a statement that capital S and you put small s, that's an error. Which error? Syntax error. Then in Python, you have to print with a small p. If you say, no, I want to print using cap locks, I like cap locks, there will be an error. And how? Syntax error are identified by your compiler and interpreter. They will not let you move forward. They will stop you right there. Like, these are not the rules. You are not following the rules of our language. You cannot compile and you cannot run your code. Okay. And what logical errors are? Logical errors are human-made errors, and they are very hard to identify. How they are hard? For example, I'm writing a 50 lines of code. 50 lines is too much, and I'm working like continuously, like 4 hours or something. And where I have to just, for example, I'm writing a quadratic formula or something, or physics formula, or any math complicated thing. And then I just made a mistake of where I need a multiplication. I did a division symbol, right? It will compile fine, it will run fine, and the answer is wrong. And boom, I'm like, how to fix this error? It's hard to identify logical errors because I'm not able to, I have to read, and it's hard because it's my job now to find and fix my error. That's a logical error. I made a logical mistake. Maybe I was not familiar with the quadratic formula, like what was the formula, and I made the wrong symbol, like a, where I have to say a plus b, I did a plus c or something, like any other thing, and that's my mistake, and it's really hard to identify. That's logical error. Now the third error is runtime error. Runtime error is, for example, my code is to divide two numbers, right? I'm asking user, and it's really hard to predict the runtime error, okay? So my task is to divide two numbers. My two variables are a and b, and I have a division symbol, right? Simple as that, a and b, divide. My code runs fine, there is no syntax error. I run the value with 5 divided by 2. It gives me the right answer, so it means my formula is correct, there is no logical error. What could be the error? When you run the code, again, I run the code. I say a is 5 divided by 0. What's the answer?
Oh, undefined.
Undefined. That's the runtime error. That during the runtime, user may enter something which will lead to an error, and your code is not ready for that runtime error, right? So 5 divided by 0. Do you think of more examples now? Can you think of more example? What could be the runtime error?
Is it, for example, like you're asking for an integer and then the user types a string? Is that a runtime error?
Yes, that's a runtime error. One more example of runtime error will be, for example, you're asking user to that your task is, your code is that enter a string, and I will enter the starting part and the ending part of the string. Then I will take out those words and create a substring from that, right? So my string, for example, let's take my name is SYEDA, and starting, I want YEDA, like in the middle, I just want the middle part. So I will tell the computer starting point and ending point. Here we can have a runtime error. For example, my name is short and I'm saying, hey, give me a value or the value at 15 index or index 14 or 15 or 17, and my name is only like 6 index long. That's also a runtime error, that user is asking the wrong input or wrong output from the user or the computer. Any questions so far? The errors, that's what my next thing was. If you receive errors and you're like frustrated, like why I'm getting that many errors, don't be disappointed. Trust me, the number of errors you are getting, the number of times, just think of that, you are learning the stuff. Student who don't get error, he don't learn. So if your program runs perfect for the first time and all the coding is working for the first time perfectly, it will be hard for you to learn some other concept, because when you make errors or mistake, next time you know how to fix it and you know how to understand your errors. And even if your classmates, like I told you, there's a ask a question discussion forum. So if you have an error and you have spent a lot of time, all of you try to fix that error, because that's a learning phase, like how you will be fixing that error, even in the industry as well. So let me share my screen of PyCharm. Where is PyCharm? Download, follow the instruction. I have posted the video, go with the latest version or go with the version I have used, because I created that video. I think that video is from last year when I was teaching Python. So I thought it's the same video, so there was no point of creating new video until and unless you have any comments to share about the lecture or the video to change. When you open PyCharm, there will be a welcome page. Anything, remove it. I think I have did a first run in my code. So first create file, new project. You will be creating new project. As you can see, my old projects are over here. Your project folder, it will be easier for you to organize, like week 1, week 2, week 3, or you want all the projects in the same file. That's up to you. It's just for your practice. Your assignments will be on Zybook. So location, if you want to change the location, you can always click on these 3 dots and you can pick any location you want and change it. Then we are using interpreter. This will be by default, will be selected according to your software. You can say create and then open in new window, open in current. I will say current in the same window. I want my code to be open. And then this is your untitled. I didn't give a name. Sorry, I forgot that step. Remove that untitled part and give a name to your project. Click on your project and then say file, new. When you say new, over here you have to select Python file. Every file, every code you create in Python, PyCharm over here has an extension of .py. Wherever you see on the cloud, internet, anywhere you see .py file, it means that's a Python file. And you should be able to recognize that, oh, that's a Python file, okay? Any file with .py extension. So let's give it a name as hello, any name according to your example, according to your assignment, you have to pick that name. And this is your space to write your code. So this is whatever I'm writing is in high level language, and computer translate into low level language. Okay. So I will write in high level language, and then after processing the input, computer give it back to compiler or interpreter, and that translates again into high level language for us so that we can read the output. Otherwise, we won't be able to read our output. We have print. So as you can see, if I make a spelling mistake or if I say anything, this software is so user friendly that it will be giving you suggestion how to fix your errors. Like as long you have syntax error, it will giving you an option over here at the bottom. You can see it is giving me to fix it. And these are open close parentheses. They are must. You cannot say, let me skip that open close parentheses. This is the syntax of Python. So you cannot say ask, even like why parenthesis. It's the syntax of Python. So it is created, the language is created in this way that you have, if you want to print, if you want to write a for loop, if you want to write if condition, this is how you're supposed to do. So you have print, you can print with single quotation marks, you can print with double quotation mark. Double quotation mark. Anything you want to be printed as it is on the screen, you will write inside. If you want to print the value, that will be separated by a comma. So let's say, let's print hello world. I want hello world to be printed as it is. As you can see, you have run. Go over here at the top. If you don't see the play icon, just like I think in my previous video, you can select run, and it will ask you which file you want to run. We want to run this hello.py. As you can see, this is my Python file. Extension is .py. I didn't wrote py. You don't have to write py. As you're using PyCharm, it will automatically create as, and you have mentioned that I want to create a Python file, so it will automatically put the extension. Select hello, that I want to run this hello as the in the bottom. As you can see, it has printed the output hello world. Okay. Any question regarding Python, like how you're working, how you create project, how to create file? You can create now multiple files. Make sure you select the project, then you say file, you go new, and you select Python file over here. Don't select Python package. Don't select any other right now, because we are just working on our Python programming course.